Sup, Transtormers here, and we're going to be doing something that hasn't been, well, posted at least yet, somehow, or if it has, it's not there anymore. So what we're going to be doing today is unlocking the bootloader on a Sony Xperia 1 III. We're going to be unlocking the bootloader on this, on Windows, hopefully. There's been a lot of issues with that recently, and I'll guide us through how to sort of do that there. I think I've figured it out. On the phone itself, you're going to want to go to your settings. You're going to want to go all the way down to About Phone. So you're going to want to hit your build number 7 times, and then it will say you are now a developer. Then you could just safely go back, go to System, and then you should see Developer Options, which wasn't there previously. Once you go into Developer Options, there's a few things that we can turn on here. So essentially we're going to want to turn on OEM unlocking, USB debugging on. Keep in mind, unlocking the bootloader, as with any modern Android, is going to wipe everything. So make sure you back up everything you possibly can, even though you're not rooted at the moment, so good luck trying to back up a lot of things without root, but that's not the point. So anyway, then back over here to our computer. We're on the Sony Bootloader Unlock program, blah blah blah, the risks, whatever. Select your device here, so Xperia 1 III for instance. You then type in your IMEI here. If you have a dual SIM phone, use the primary IMEI. Type that in there, select these two, hit submit, and then it will display your unlock code. And then it also has another step, going to the dialer itself, and then entering, so asterisk number 7378 423, and then number sign asterisk number sign asterisk. That'll take us over to the service menu here, like they said. Then we're going to tap service info. So essentially from within this menu, we then go to configuration, and under configuration here, it will say your IMEI number, software version, and rooting status. Bootloader unlock allowed, yes. So that is what we need it to say here, as well as getting the code here from Sony, and then we're able to unlock it. Now, there's a few different ways to get the phone into the mode that we need it to be in. The easiest, of course, is just powering the device off. Or, not the easiest, but the classic way is just power the device off. Now on this phone, we're going to need to hold the volume down and power at the same time. So holding volume down and power, and then we can let go of the power button as soon as that essentially happens. Essentially, I can even let go of this at the moment here. That boots us here into our recovery. This is the recovery, not the bootloader. Plug it in here. We can't send ADB commands. Nothing sort of shows up like this. So what we want to do is go over to enter fastboot, and that'll send us to fast, or if we do that here, for instance, let me just do that. So then we hit the power button to go in. That takes us to fastboot D. Now, if I was to sort of plug this in here, and this is just a direct 20 gigabit USB-C to Teletran here. What we're going to do is go ahead and open up a command prompt here. We're just going to run this as administrator. The commands that I'm going to use here are just to transfer the directory over to where I have ADB and fastboot. So essentially what you're going to want to do, if you don't already have this, I'm just assuming you do, but if you don't, you're going to want to go over here to developer.android.com, and you're going to want to grab the platform tools for your operating system. So like for Windows, for instance. Then we extract those tools over to here. So essentially it looks like this, platform tools, extract them. I just named them the version that they are, and this looks fairly standard, so we've got all the stuff that we normally have. So all I did there was just change our directory over to that platform tools directory there. Do the same on yours, wherever you happen to have it. So now that we're here and we're in fastboot, what I'm going to do here is run fastboot devices. So this should show if we have any devices connected, and we do, and that's the serial number of this phone here. So notice it is showing up in fastboot here, but and I know this isn't going to work here, so I'll go ahead and do it. And also, for now, like if we were to check device manager here, we can see that nothing is wrong, everything is just fine, there's nothing being detected strangely. So we are in fastboot. So for instance, back to what I'm doing here. I'm going to install Lineage, so I'm going to obviously unlock the bootloader here. So next, check if you're on the correct firmware. So make sure that your device is fully up to date. Now notice there's another command here. This command will actually take us to the bootloader as opposed to in fastboot, because notice here if we were to do like a command here, so we are in fastboot, let's just verify we could do fastboot devices. It is showing up, and I can wake up the screen here so we can have the camera here. If I was to enter this here, fastboot OEM unlock and my unlock code, notice we get failed, remote, command not supported in default implementation, fastboot error command failed, even though we do have a fastboot connection. The reason for this here is because we're in fastboot D, not fastboot. This command that Lineage says to run here would put us in the correct bootloader. However, there's more issues on Windows here. If you're on Linux, that'll work just fine, or in theory it would. Okay, so another easy way that we can get to the proper area we need to get is by entering the command directly in ADB. So if we have ADB on and your computer is showing up as trusted, yeah, sure, I'll allow file access there. So essentially, from our platform tools here, we can do ADB devices, and then it will need to start running the tool here. In a second, we'll see a response back, and there we go. So we can see it here. So if we do use their actual command here, just replace in your head the word bootloader with fastboot, because that's what it is. And if we were to enter this command here, and I will enter it right now, that's going to be sending the phone into the bootloader. Now this will be the correct sort of format. Now one scary thing here, it's fine. Notice the light is red at the top right, and now it is blue. Now a few things are going to happen there. If we go back to Device Manager over here, we can see that we now have an other device showing up with a little, triangle as no drivers installed called Android. That's a problem. So ignore that the screen is completely off here. That's totally fine. Now if from within our ADB here, if we do ADB devices, we can't see anything. If we do fastboot devices, we also can't see anything. That's a problem, which means it's not going to accept the code because it can't see a device. So even though we're in here, let me just fastboot OEM unlock and our code here, it will just get stuck. This is going to be fun to edit out here. Anyways, it's just stuck because it's not actually communicating with the Android. The Android is in fastboot, did take us to the right sort of place here, but that's not going to work. And then I'll show you how we can get into that the normal way by using the normal option. So if we power off the device, so we hold volume down, and then I'll press power here until the device turns on. Once the Sony logo comes up, letting go of power. But it's not that critical, you can be different here. So essentially now from this menu, we can access that same thing. So we scroll to Reboot to Bootloader, we hit the power button, and that will do the same thing that that command just did, but you'll see that it will appear exactly the same. So we show up here again as Android not detected, so our commands won't go through there, even though we're blue here, which insinuates that we are in fastboot. Show you why we need to install those drivers specifically in order to get that to communicate, blah, blah, blah. The drivers that we need to install are Sony's drivers here. You can get from Sony's open source Android Xperia open source drivers page. For ours is the Xperia 1.3 driver, this one here, and I do have that already extracted. This driver here, so just extract that as you would. I have it here. Will give you these files. It has no installer to run, so we just have the actual sort of driver files here, the DLLs and the information file, or setup information file here. So essentially what we're concerned about here, or what we want to install as that unknown Android thing, is this right here. But Windows is dumb. So the final way that I'm going to show you how to boot into that same fast boot mode here is just by powering the device off. So we're going to go power it completely off again. And now that we're powered off, we're going to hold volume up this time. So we're holding volume up, and then we're plugging a USB into it. So holding volume up, plugging a USB into it. Notice our red light came on, and then our blue light came on. So we're now in fastboot just the same. That's probably actually the quickest method to get into it, aside from just sending a command, to be honest. So now, if we check our device manager again, we can see that in fact Android is just showing up with nothing. and no drivers for this device. So that's why we're not able to send commands to it there. So what we're going to do is, go over here to update drivers. This is not going to work, by the way. Browse computer, browse, and this is literally the folder of the drivers here. Next. Nope, couldn't find drivers. Couldn't find drivers. If we search for Windows Update drivers, this isn't going to work either. It doesn't find anything. Like if we do update drivers, search automatically, couldn't find any drivers. Already have the best or whatever. So that's a problem. If we try the same thing with Google's USB drivers here, that will also happen. So if we were to browse, okay, so even if we select the Google driver folder here, which essentially has the Google equivalent of the same drivers there, and we tell it to search that, it still doesn't work. It cannot install it there. So the huge workaround to get anything to happen here is we do need to use Sony's driver. However, there's a really complicated way to install it, and this is the modern way to install it here. So essentially on this page here, open Device Manager. In Device Manager, right-click the name of your computer at the top and then add legacy hardware. Well, here's the thing. That doesn't exist in Windows anymore. So go to Action, add legacy hardware, comes up with this option here. And as they say, click Next on the wizard, and then we'll do install the hardware that I manually select from a list. As it says here, click Next. And then now, don't bother looking for anything, even if we have ADB interface there, ignore that completely. Go to Show All Devices, as it says, so Show All Devices, and then click Have Disk here. And then, of course, we're going to browse to where those drivers are again. So once we go into that folder here, we can see that setup information file. So we're going to click the one like it says here. It ends with ADB, so SA0200ADB.inf for us. And then I'm going to go ahead and open that. And then once we're there, we're going to go ahead and click OK on the install dialog. Now that shows up as Sony SA200ADB interface driver, digitally signed, blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to click Next twice, it says. So then now we see this here. Then we're going to click Next again. And it's now installed, but may not work correctly. The device cannot start code 10. And then we're going to go ahead and hit finish. What we do have to do now is restart, otherwise it will not show up correctly. So notice it is still not just auto grabbing to this one here. And even if we do update driver, search automatically, it still can't find it. So what we do need to actually do is restart, and we'll be back here. Okay, welcome back. We now have Sony's driver installed here. It's not showing that it's working. It's error code 10. That's fine. Ignore that. As long as that's installed there, we should be good. What we're going to do now to unlock the bootloader is just the normal way that we would in Android, just like actually, running it here. There we go. And let's just allow file access there. Blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter at all. Here we see we have an ADB interface, and it's working properly. But let's just damn well make sure of that. Okay, so welcome back. We've just ran our ADB devices command here just to show that it is attached. We have our phone on the desktop. I'll just rerun this here, and we can see that it is detecting our phone just fine. So anyway, now that we're within ADB here and we have that working, we're going to go ahead and send the phone for our last time here. Goodbye. We're going to send it into the bootloader. So entering command ADB space -B space reboot space bootloader. And that will send the phone here into the bootloader. As we know, this little LED in the top right will show up as blue once we are in the bootloader there. See red, green, and now it's blue. So now we should be in the bootloader. Now, if we were to do ADB devices again, we don't see anything. If we were to do fastboot devices, we won't see anything either. We don't see anything there. Now, we still have the same issue here. As you can see, the Android device is just not letting us install anything. However, there is now a workaround, and that workaround is this. If we were to go over here to our Android device, right-click it, and do Update Driver, this time we'll do Browse Computer for Drivers, but we won't point it to the file because we know that doesn't work. And now that we have it installed as this device down here, the Sony SA0200ADB interface, what we can do is go, let me pick from a list of available devices, and we should be able to find that same Sony device down here. the Sony SA0200. So now if we go ahead and click this, it is assigned driver, ADB interface. Next, it's warning, we don't know if this is compatible, blah blah blah, it might not work correctly. Just do it. And now that'll install here. And we should now have it working. So for instance, if we run fastboot devices, haha, look at that, we can now see the device. So we're in the last stretches here. Make sure you back up all your Android partitions, or you have, before you do this, make sure you can at least download an OTA update and things like that in case you need to rebuild everything. I don't care about anything on it, and it's going to get formatted here in just a second, so that's totally fine. So essentially what we're going to do here, whoa, edit that, oh no. So what we're going to do is go ahead and enter the unlock code, fastboot space OEM space unlock, and then my unlock code. I don't know if this is going to work here, this is what Lineage says, or if we need to do what Sony says. We go over here to like Sony's page again, remember, do this, fastboot devices, and then do this code. So I'm just going to try it first the way Lineage says, with sort of nothing there, and we'll see. So we're going to enter my fastboot unlock code here, and it's done instantly. So 0.641 seconds, and you know, we're looking good here. So now we're going to go back over to here. Fastboot OEM unlock. We generated the code, we entered our code, it's now unlocked. Since the device resets completely, we'll have to re-enable USB debugging to continue. So we're gonna, let's see what our next step is here. So now we need to just flash all of our files and stuff. But so just taking it from here, not as an install Lineage guide, but as an unlock bootloader guide. We have ran our command with our unlock bootloader here. It finished successfully because we are in the correct fastboot, even though we can't see anything at all on the screen here. Normally it would come up with a warning and things, but I guess that doesn't matter here. By unplugging this here, it should reset, and we should be able to boot up here. So it looks like it's finished here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and unplug this, and we'll see what happens here. It should either just turn off or turn back on and say, device unlocked, blah, blah, blah. We'll see. Looks like it's just turning off. So let's go ahead and hold our power button to just turn on normally here. And it's going to be, yeah, your device and software cannot be checked for corruption. Please lock the bootloader. Sony. So that's what that says. Erasing. So upon reboot there, it is erasing. Can't be checked for corruption. Please lock the bootloader. Sony. It did an erasing thing before. We're just going to let it go through here and see what we get. This is sort of uncharted territory here for me. I have not unlocked a Sony before. So don't worry if yours restarts after saying the erasing. This is looking like our normal boot up screen as if we're formatted here. So that looks good at the moment. Everything does look okay here. I forgot I left a SIM card in, so it's going to want me to set up Android and stuff. We're not doing that because we're flashing Lineage. But at least our bootloader's unlocked. And at least the message isn't too annoying. It's not red, for instance. I wonder if there's still a way we can disable that. And here we are, nicely on our setup screen. So I'll just speed through this here. Now, pretend our bootloader isn't unlocked yet. What we want to do, the first thing that you essentially want to do here is, let's quickly get over there to our settings. We're going to go down to About Phone. We're going to scroll down here, ignore the IMEI numbers there. We're going to tap our build number 7 times. And then we'll need to enter our code or PIN there. And after that, it says, you are now a developer. So that's what we do for the very first thing, of course. And then we go over here, back to System, Developer Options. And now we have Developer Options enabled. So notice now that we do not have OEM unlocking because bootloader is already unlocked. It's just permanently sort of enabled there. Okay, that looks good. So all of our settings are nice here. And you know, one last time on here, let's so essentially see this key here. When you plug yours in, you'll need to allow it for that computer. So I'm going to have it remember Teletran here, grant access, and we'll not do that. But now that that is done, we can start flashing. But essentially, you're done. You unlocked your bootloader. You're good to go. You're good to go now. Damn, it feels good to be back on an open source operating system that gets security patches. But basically, that's how we do things. And ignore that. That's fine. And also, we could uninstall this one here. It'll persist to that one, so it's totally okay. I'm just not going to delete the drivers, but there we go. Now we are good again, because we have them installed to where we need them. And if we did go back to ADB, it'll show up as itself again, so no worries there. I guess that's pretty much all for now. We are rooted, essentially. We have Magisk installed, the Google Apps installed, we're running Lineage, our bootloader is unlocked. Of course, if your only goal is to just unlock your bootloader and then be able to flash things, that's totally, you know, already done, essentially. So I'm going to leave it there for now and start setting things up here. I hope this helped you if you were facing any of those common issues on Windows. If it did, you know, would really appreciate dropping a like, leaving a comment, and sticking around. And thanks for tuning in.